Hello, good evening, everyone. Would like to give everyone a very warm welcome once again to Overcomers Diary. I've really missed all of you, all our lovely ministers and counselors. I've missed the audience. On behalf of Councillor Nab, I am Irefoma St. Jasmine, and I come to you this evening. Before we actually move on, I know it's been a while, people probably have a lot of questions to ask, but there's a very special announcement I'd like to put out there. So we have great news. Councillor Nav has been blessed with a beautiful bundle of joy, a lovely little boy, and that would explain why we had to go off for a little while. She's our brain behind this whole thing, so we really needed her to be in top shape. But we would just like to say a very big welcome to everyone. And shall we all please just give a round of applause for Councillor Nav and just, celebrate with her. Congratulations. We're really happy for you and we're super proud of you. She's actually been insisting to come back, so that shows how special you all are to her. So I'd like to also then use this opportunity to welcome our wonderful, wonderful ministers and counselors on the show. I would like to start with Reverend Cynthia. Mummy, good evening and welcome back. I'll just give you the space to say something to our audience.
Thank you very much. It's good to come back. We've left for a while, and so I'm glad that we are back. And I know that you are here because you want us to be back, and you are here because you also want to learn. So tonight is a clean start that we are having. So stay tuned, invite other people, send links everywhere, and let's all do this together. I'm glad to see you all.
Thank you very much, Mummy. Reverend Cynthia Sutherland. I call her Mummy because she's my mummy. I'm very fond of calling her that. I'd like to go to Auntie Irene, please. Would you please, our counselor, actually, I should stop saying Auntie and Auntie. But yeah, please do share something nice you'd like to, an address for our audience today after such a long break.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I'm also happy to be on the show. We miss our audience and we believe they've also missed us. And just as Auntie Cynthia said, we are here to continue from where we left. And we believe that the Lord, through his wisdom, will help us to go through today's program so that by the time we are done, somebody will be healed somewhere, somebody will be touched somewhere, and somebody will be blessed. So stay tuned, invite your friends, and let us all be in tune. Thank you so much for your attention. I love you all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Irene. Yes. And then we'll now come to my lovely uncle, Reverend Abankwa. He's also our social care practitioner. So welcome again, Uncle. And please share something with our audience after such a long break.
Thank you, Jasmine. Once again, we thank God for bringing us together back on the show. It was a worth break. And we thank God for the life of our Councillor Nab and for the life of all our audience. And I believe that during the period where we had the break, I don't know what you were doing, but by the grace of God, we have come back. So we want you to join us tonight for us to go through where we left off. We pray that at the end of it, the hand of God will touch someone and they will receive their healing. So stay tuned and let's go through this together. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So, to my lovely audience, I'm really excited today to be here. Well, we have had quite a lot of in-depth discussions over the weeks, but I think I would just like to use this opportunity to say a very big welcome once again. I am actually really honored and privileged to be here again today. But today is actually going to be our last part of journeying through trauma-informed care. We started with a whole trauma, breaking it down into different levels to be able to explain, to give people the opportunity to express how they have felt. And we've actually shared some real life case studies. And that was how we've been able to work through all the different definitions of trauma, the different types of trauma. And we actually even started on trauma-informed care and practice, the approach for people to be able to be on their journey to healing and to recovery. So without much ado, I think as we've given you the welcome, we would like you to go off and send the link to as many people as you can. So we will give you a 1-minute interlude, just to allow you the opportunity to do that, and then we'll be back again. So looking forward to seeing you in a minute. Please go off and share with as many people as you can. Thank you. Okay, so we're back, it looks. I hope you've been able to share with as many people as possible. So please feel free to send comments in, any greetings, any salutations you might want to bring to our attention. Please feel free to share them with us. And I'm sure Councillor Nab will be letting us know so that we can acknowledge all the wonderful people that are live with us today. So we will just begin. Oh, we've got some comments. We've got Nan Nakai. She says, great to see you again. Lovely to see you as well, Miss Na. It's really lovely. We've got Isabel Abaka Phillips. So happy to see you all again. Yay. It's good to be here. Thank you very much. So we'll just get tucked in now. So we're just going to quickly go on with the overview of what trauma. I think we'll just have a quick recap of the definition of trauma. It was trauma refers to the emotional and psychological impact of a distressing or overwhelming event that disrupts an individual's sense of safety and well-being. So we also kind of read through to say it's not just the event itself, but it's also the lasting negative impact on a person's mental health and ability to cope. Trauma can stem from a single event or a series of experiences and can involve direct experience or witnessing something harmful. So I don't know if that rings a bell for anyone. But yeah, that was the definition of trauma. So throughout the weeks leading up to Councillor Nab's baby arrival, we did actually go through these, exploring them in the lens or through the lenses of real life case studies. So I think, yes, we now have the definition. So I'll just throw it back to the councillors. Is everyone happy with that definition still? Has anyone got anything that they might want to say before we then go? Because we're doing the recap now. So I don't know if anybody will have anything to add or to expand on from their perspective, please. Cynthia, Councillor Irene.
Oh, I think the definition we started with is simple and it's okay for our audience to. So I don't think I have anything to add. It's self-explanatory and we are all good to go.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. So then we're moving to the key aspects of trauma. So we spoke about overwhelming experiences, which says traumatic events are those that overwhelm an individual's capacity to cope, leaving them feeling unsafe, powerless, or unsupported. And it can actually, I remember when we explored some of the case studies, we were able to really delve deeper and to kind of break it down, expand on what some of these overwhelming experiences were. And I remember one of the case studies was about a lady who lost her mum when she was younger, and she still lives with that trauma of the family not breaking the news to her in the way that would have been better received for herself. And she's lived with so many years dealing with the pain and the hurt from finding out when she was going back home and to see obituary posters all over that place. So, and I remember we did also talk about, I think it was a pastor bringing people in, I think some experiences that can be quite overwhelming, and it can leave people feeling very unsupported, powerless, unsafe, or it can actually sometimes even lead to detrimental consequences, fatalities, where people have taken their lives as a result of an overwhelming experience. So this is actually quite a serious element of trauma. And then we've got subjectivity, which is what one person experiences as traumatic, another may not. The impact of an event is influenced by individual factors and coping mechanisms. So we also got to explore and to kind of, deliberate on how, as a people from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds or the global majority backgrounds, by virtue of cultural predispositions or language, for whatever the reasons would be, sometimes something that may seem difficult or traumatic to one person may not actually necessarily be appreciated as that for somebody else. And that lack of understanding or that lack of awareness can also then impact to a great extent on how people are able to deal with trauma and how they're actually able to address it, go through the process, and how they're able to successfully come out of that state of traumatic experience. And then we also spoke about a wide range of events, which we did through our case studies. Trauma can arise from various experiences. I think we demonstrated that with all the different case studies, from grooming to sexual abuse to different things that we covered, even through religion, the lens of religion, and how sometimes our faith and the faith community can also impact on how people are able to deal with or manage or cope with their traumatic experiences. And we also, I think, spoke about lasting effects. We all kind of came to the appreciation from some of the case studies as well, to appreciate through the case studies, to appreciate that trauma can lead to a range of mental health challenges, including anxiety, depression, flashbacks, avoidance, and difficulty in regulating one's emotions, because everything starts with the mind, isn't it? We start experiencing things, and depending on what stage of life you're at, when we don't have the right people around, when there's no access to support, all these things can make it really difficult for people to be able to deal with it and then to be able to successfully move on from it. So what happens a lot of the time, especially from African or ethnic backgrounds, we really kind of explored those discussions to a T, I believe. We did actually come to the conclusion that it is really difficult because of the way sometimes our predisposition, like our environments are, it makes it really difficult for people to open up and share things. We don't often feel we have safe spaces to do that. And sometimes people avoid it as well, and people don't deal with things. But when it comes to things, traumatic experiences that obviously impact on people's mental health, their well-being, it never goes away. It's only a ticking time bomb, because eventually it catches up with us. And then sometimes, unfortunately, that's what can happen. And then we end up losing a lot of rights and things because we hit rock bottom, and then we have to pick up the pieces. But then we did actually, I remember we tried to encourage more people to kind of have open conversations, to actually be able to listen to our family members, to just kind of, be able to get involved and to support people. So it's not just in saying we're there to support, but actually taking the steps to be able to really implement support for people. And then we also spoke about, I think, the physical manifestations that even though trauma, sometimes people experience it and it starts obviously in that emotional space, because we did delve through the biopsychosocial analysis of a person, and then sometimes when people are really struggling mentally or emotionally or psychologically, it tends to manifest physically. So that's how you find people becoming very socially withdrawn. You find things like people becoming, we'll deem them to say they're antisocial. And then we also find people beginning to really kind of present in ways that would not normally be ideal or typical of that person. There could be self-neglect, there could actually be psychotic experiences where people begin to actually respond to things that are not there, like unseen stimuli. They begin to kind of behave in very bizarre ways to the outside world. So all these things are things that we need to really be sort of keeping an eye out for. So some of the physical effects could also be headaches, body aches, changes in our sleep patterns. We begin to experience very poor sleep hygiene, our appetite. People either put on a lot of weight or they begin to lose they begin to lose quite a lot of weight. So we're supposed to be each other's keeper, basically. These are some of the topical areas or the things that we explored during our discussions over the weeks. And then we also kind of touched on seeking help. Every single session we had, we would always kind of, delve through the lovely counselors on there who are experts in their fields. They gave us some very good nuggets about how to seek help. So if you did know somebody who was struggling with effects of trauma, it's always really important to signpost them to seek professional help. So we can do our little bits by offering, support, listening to people, and being able to understand. But the key thing is to be able to actually signpost them towards seeking professional help, because it's a whole professional area. And it's an arena where if you're not really skilled and equipped with the necessary tools, you could actually probably cause more harm than good to someone as well, because then you could actually be pushing them into that re-traumatization cycle, which we did actually also explore during our discussions. So a GP can be a very good starting point for accessing or being able to access support. It always starts with a GP, and then they could help to navigate and signpost, the pathway. And, support is also always available from various organizations, including Mind and Young Minds. You've got your local churches. You've got, we're all people of faith, most, ethnic minority people, irrespective of what faith we practice. There's always that help and that support out there. So it's really important that we put that information out there for people to be able to know that actually there is hope at the end of the tunnel. That is the main reason why Councillor Nab decided to put all of us together, so we could all be having these interactive discussions. And then I believe that we did actually start on our trauma-informed practice. So trauma-informed care, as most people would probably know, the whole practice to be about, it's basically an approach that we acknowledge. It does acknowledge the widespread impact of trauma and understanding how it can affect an individual's development and well-being. And I believe that, we did also cover the fact that it emphasizes on creating a safe and supportive environment, recognizing potential triggers and promoting recovery and resilience, which is obviously the epitome of why we actually delve into trauma-informed practice, which goes back to what I said, that, in as much as we can all support us, we are each other's keeper, we're all our neighbor's keeper, but it's really important as well that we acknowledge the limitations of the support we can offer people, so that we can signpost them to the right professionals to give them the right support, so we don't end up causing more harm than good. So I believe there were 6 dimensions, when it came to 6 trauma-informed core principles. And one of them was understanding of trauma and stress. The next was compassion and dependability. Then we also touched on cultural humility and responsiveness. We also spoke about safety and stability, collaboration and empowerment, and resilience and recovery. These were the main principles, the core principles of trauma-informed care. So I will go back now to our wonderful counselors. And I believe when we last left, we had a case study that we were delving into the different elements of trauma. I don't know who would please like to take the floor to actually start so that we can have a little continuation following on from that, please. Councillor Irene, I saw you nod your head, so I'd like to probably hand it over to you first. And I think we might have more, blessings to everyone from Lady Irajua McCarthy. Thank you so much, Lady Irajua. It's lovely to have you here as well. So yeah, Councillor Irene, trauma-informed care and practice. I think you're muted.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So like you recounted, trauma-informed care is very, very important in our lives. I think especially people that have gone through trauma and they are still navigating their way through, and those who are even still in it. We talk about collaborative efforts, meaning that anybody going through trauma cannot do it alone. He needs other professionals like the family support. So here we want to establish the fact that as we journey through trauma-informed care, we cannot do it alone. So if there's anybody there trying to come out of trauma alone, it will not help the individual. The individual needs to seek help, collaborative effort, where you get the professionals in there to support the family through the education that I'm sure through what we have gone through over the past weeks. A lot of education has gone out there, and then based on whatever we have learned, we can put them into practice to assist persons going through this path in their lifetime. It's something that is not preserved for some people. Trauma can hit at anybody at any time. Just like currently in Ghana, I don't know if you have heard about it, the helicopter that crashed and all the people got burnt.
Really sad.
If this is not a traumatic experience, I don't know what else we can talk about. Even the community, the village where the aircraft landed, people were on their farm innocently farming, and then they just chance on what was happening. That alone is it. The whole country is, I don't know, Ghana is something else. And so people are going through, and these people need collaborative efforts. The families, everybody. So trauma-informed care is very, very important as far as we navigate our way through past traumas that individuals have gone through. And so this evening, as we are here, we just want to encourage anybody out there going through trauma or who has experienced trauma and has not fully healed from it to recognize the fact that he cannot do it alone. He needs a collaborative effort. He needs to open up to trusted people like professionals, the family support system, so that together the individual can come out safely and sound. That's what I'll start with. Then we'll continue.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Councillor Irene. You know, you touched on something that suddenly just reminded me of that traumatic event that happened in Ghana. That was a very, very tragic event, actually. And as you said, looking at trauma, it's about being able to acknowledge the widespreading, like the definitions would say, the widespreading impact of any event. Because as you said, in that particular instance, we're now not only thinking about the people, may their souls rest in perfect peace, but it's their families they've left behind, even the area, the village where that incident happened. That is going to be something that's really going to stay with them, especially obviously from African backgrounds. We're very, very spiritual people. We believe in spiritual.
Exactly.
So then even the fact of that bloodshed in that space, that in itself can have its own repercussions, and all sorts of things. So it's really, we'd like to probably use this moment to really acknowledge the lives of those that have been lost. Perhaps maybe we should observe, actually, to observe a minute silence, just to kind of, mourn with the family, to stand with them, so we would like to take a minute to actually mourn and to observe a minute of silence for those people and their families. Thank you very much. So we've got a lovely message from Melchizedek Osebwahin, who says excellent explanation. So thank you very much, Melchizedek, and thank you, Councillor Irene. So I'd like to please come to Reverend Abankwa, following on from what Councillor Irene has shared with us. So going back to the different principles of the trauma-informed care and from the conversations we were having before the break, if you would please like to take over as well to give your take on, thank you.
Thank you, Sister Jasmine, and thank you, Reverend Irene. Touching on the various aspects we have covered so far, I think you have given a nice summary of all the things we have touched on for the past, few weeks that we started this topic. But then, the aim of all that we are trying to put across is how to, bring about healing for people who have unfortunately gone through any form of trauma. You see, trauma, we have different levels and different degrees of trauma. Sometimes some of them are on a personal, individual level. So people may experience the kind of trauma maybe on a one-on-one. The example that Councillor Irene gave, the tragic events that happen in Ghana is on a national level, is of the nature of what happened and the people involved, and looking at that is about I'm looking at the principle of avoiding traumatization, because normally, when people have gone through any form of trauma, sometimes what delays the healing is the re-traumatization that they may experience at some point in their healing process. Because as we know, healing from trauma is not a 1 day, 2 day event. It's a process. It's a gradual process. And sometimes, unfortunately for people, they may experience or go through certain kind of experience that may bring back what they have gone through or re-traumatize them. And this is where it then delays or slows down or prolongs the healing process. So it's about being mindful of what the individual has gone through. In this case, being mindful of what has happened to the families who have lost their loved ones in the tragic event of the helicopter crash. And sometimes when people are trying to heal, people around, in this case, the public around should be very sensitive to what has happened and sometimes be mindful of the things we say, the comments we make, because that can also go a long way to prolong the hurt that the family may be going through. So avoiding re-traumatization for people who may have experienced a trauma in one way or the other is a very key thing that we have to bear in mind, so that at least we will be able to support, people in that sense, because what we don't want is to is like we are rewounding, their head and scratching the wound that has already started healing. So just brief to sort of draw our attention to the fact that we should be, especially if people are aware of the trauma and people are around those who have gone through that experience, they should be mindful of some of the things that they may say, or even some of the experiences that the people who have suffered the trauma may go through. So it's just advice for every one of us to be aware and to try and avoid and support people to be able to go through the healing process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Reverend Abankwah. I think we're coming now to Reverend Cynthia Sutherland, Mummy.
Thank you very much.
Mummy, please take it from your perspective as well, in terms of the trauma-informed practice. And I know we touched on quite a lot of things from the church and the faith setting and all that. Please take over the floor.
I'm looking at empowerment. Many times people go through experiences and they sometimes hope that things will just go away. And so we just brush it under the carpet, thinking that everything will be okay. But gradually eats into our lives, into our future, into our, it spill over our lives, our children, family life, and all that. And so being empowered to be able to deal with the situation is very important. And that will come from education or information. And so when things happen, don't think that there's no solution to it or it will go away. Find help. We need to find help. And like Councillor Irene said, look for trusted people that have been trained, people that know what to do and what to say. Let's go to them and get information that we can work with. Because yes, it might be a long time period that you go through that, but with the information, you are able to minimize the pain or the trauma, and it gives you also a focus to be able to work with, to arrive to the point where healing will be made, possible for you. So I just want to encourage people that nothing is nothing. There's no trauma that we say, oh, this is nothing, or this I don't have hope for it. Whatever it is, when we have that tool of information and education for ourselves, we are able to deal with it as we go along so that we come out of it. And I think one of the examples that we used was the lady that was married to an Asian country and came back, and all sorts was going on. And even now, it's like it's spilling into a relationship that she is in now. So getting the right information and the right education, it empowers you to be able to take the next step and the next step and the next step. By the time we realize you are out of it, otherwise we find ourselves in a cycle that things will happen and then it triggers it, like Reverend John was saying, things will happen, and because we haven't dealt with the source of the problem or the trauma. So getting information will help us to be able to deal with it, and then we have the upper hand or the strength to be able to deal with anything that will seem to come and interfere with the healing that we are going through. So that's my point. Empowerment is very key. And anybody around them as well. Whatever information that we can give them to support them with, let's do it so that they come out quickly and be strong. So that's my take on it.
Thank you very, very, very much, Reverend Cynthia. That's really awesome. So even in terms of, I think it's quite interesting you picked on empowerment. So I am probably going to really, I think for me, the key element as a mental practitioner and also as an independent advocate, I think my one that I'd like to really touch on is some choice, actually, because Yeah, empowerment is probably actually the foundational I think the foundational strength or pillar for even each of the other principles: safety, trust, collaboration, choice, because all these other principles actually probably bring about empowerment for any person anyway. So the choice principle that I want to touch on in trauma-informed care, it emphasizes that by providing individuals with options and control over their care, fostering that sense of agency and empowerment, it actually gives them better control over their care, and it fosters an agency of empowerment. And I think in particular, this principle acknowledges that trauma can lead to feelings of helplessness, which I'm sure we can all agree with, and a loss of control to a great extent. And therefore, actively offering choices, helps any individual to reclaim their power and actively participate in their healing process. Because at the end of the day, whatever things that we think we want to do to support anybody, even in all the other principles, that nurturing of trust, the safety, the person has to be in agreement. So that person's willingness and agreement into this is actually a very key aspect of, that's probably half the problem solved in a way. But then the thing is, we need to learn to give people choice. And obviously, coming from an African background, choices often we don't really cultivate or inculcate that. Even with, I remember growing up, hey, what choice? You do what you're told, eat what you're given. Children should be seen and not heard. All these nuances that we take for granted sometimes, they can actually take away choice from people, and that then can probably even make it more infuriating, or it can actually make it more complex. It kind of compounds the complexity of the situation of already having to try and come out of this whole cycle. So I just want to kind of touch a bit on the key aspects of the choice principle, from obviously my perspective, and also from a practitioner point of view. It's offering meaningful choices. So, for example, the reason why choice is so important. Choice is something that we often have, and this is when we go back to even looking at some of the effects of trauma, like mental health, where your well-being is completely compromised. A lot of the time, for people from ethnic minority backgrounds, we don't talk about things, we don't share things until it's actually too late. And unfortunately, and whenever I run workshops, even in terms of mental health awareness and all this, you have a choice until it's too late. When things get to rock, when you've hit rock bottom, you actually do lose a lot of the choices that you have, because then it's at that point it's survival mode, and then people have a duty of care to ensure that your life is being preserved and you're being kept to be safe. All the risks are being mitigated. But whilst things are kind of bubbling, and when you're actually aware of this, that's why it's really important that Councillor Nab actually runs Overcomers Diaries to touch on very key relevant issues like trauma. It's such a big thing, where as we're putting this information out, hopefully the view is that more people will be empowered to actually take action and to take positive steps to prevent them hitting that rock bottom where they have to be rehabilitated. Prevention is actually always better than cure, as they say. So offering meaningful choices to people. When you do have a choice, you can be provided with a range of options in all aspects of your care, from scheduling your appointments, participating in any activities, because obviously when you're being dealt with professionals, there are tools that they use to support people, because everything we do is evidence-based practice. So if anybody needs any trauma-informed kind of input or care, you can be definitely rest assured that there will be, professional tools, outcome tools, or measures, things that would help, or even just basic day-to-day tools that can help you to kind of start working on your goals. So it's about that collaboration also comes in the choice, because when you're being offered, the range of options, then, there's that sense of collaboration and that person feeling like they're part of the process as well, because it is really primarily about that person who is going through the trauma, or who has been experiencing the trauma. And then there's the promoting shared decision making. So by encouraging the collaboration between the individuals and providers in the decision making process, or the professionals, it ensures that that individual is having a choice and a voice which is actively involved in shaping their care plan or their support plan. So, and that can be very important because there's no need actually making a plan for somebody without them being involved in it. I remember in mental health, there was actually a directive, there was an initiative, it was no decision about me without me, because it's really, it doesn't make sense because it kind of creates this cycle of, things not working and we're constantly back to square one, because if people are not actively involved when we're putting together these support plans, the measures, then it becomes cost 90, because then the chances are they might not actually do it. But when they're part of that decision making, they take ownership, then it actually then creates that opportunity for them to then actually sit and reflect and think, well, I am making this decision, so therefore it kind of gives them that impetus to kind of really stick with a plan, so to speak. And then respecting autonomy. So by offering people choices, you're recognizing and honoring that the individual's rights to make their own choices, even, for them, it may differ from what we think, because actually we're professionals sometimes, and it's very, very easy to make that sort of like, judgment where we think because we know our job, I know what this person actually needs or what they could benefit from. But realistically, it's all about them. They need to be able to we need to respect their autonomy, because they would possibly understand their trauma better than anybody else, because you're not the one experiencing it. Whatever it is, it's their prerogative. So it's really all about respecting their autonomy. And honoring them and kind of just appreciating it so that they understand that we get it, and we're really there. And it helps to actually strengthen that therapeutic rapport, because when people feel they're being listened to and they're being heard, then they're more likely to then engage even more. So then, avoiding coercion as well, giving people a choice. That means you're not really kind of imposing things on them, which is often what can happen, especially in our communities, because of our cultural way of, our predispositions and our way of life. Usually it's a very, very sort of common presumption or mistake that we would often make, trying to kind of sway people to do something because we think that's the right thing for them. But it's being able to just acknowledge, to them, to let them understand that we know forcing them into making certain decisions, can be re-traumatizing. Is that acknowledgement, and it's also that validating of what they feel, because that's their feelings, and obviously then otherwise it'll become counterproductive. And it's very crucial that individuals actually get to choose when and how they engage with help. But that's where the therapeutic rapport comes in, when they find you to be somebody they can trust, somebody that they feel empowers them, somebody that they feel they are safe with. So the principles of that trauma-informed care, it's actually quite real, and they're very tangible, and they do work. So I believe it's evidence-based practice. So it's been tried and tested. So once we're fostering all these things, then obviously that choice then cements it all for them, because then they're getting to get that feel, and then they open up even more. So creating that sense of safety, the trust, highlighting strengths and their resilience. So instead of sometimes focusing on people's negative sides, it's nice when we're offering them choices, but we're also kind of really offering choices that are aligned with their strengths, because then we're not really feeding into negativity around the whole process or the experiences, but we're actually trying to really support them and hold their hand through crossing over or moving over to the next step, towards their healing and their recovery. So I think, as I said, just to kind of touch on some of the examples, like, day-to-day examples, like even offering choices in appointment times, locations for meetings, even if you're a family member, you're supporting someone, like being able to really ask them what they want, how they want it. It's really important. And then providing options for how, they would even participate in activities, like, for example, such as choosing to sit either in a circle or at a table, or to actually go for a walk out in the public, or to do, it's all about them. And once they get that sense of everything is revolving around them, then that could then help to actually create that, environment for them to be able to open up so they can get the help, that they need. So obviously by embracing this principle of choice, I personally truly believe trauma-informed care could really empower individuals to become active participants in their healing journey, which will then obviously foster a sense of hope, resilience, and self-determination, which is really what we're hoping to achieve for them. So yeah, that's my contribution. So we want to actually, I don't know if any of the other counselors have anything to say on the other principles, anything coming to anybody that you might want to share?
I think you said it. You said it all.
Remember today.
You said it all.
Okay, we're going to really start calling names. I'm just kidding. We'll actually put it to our audience just to find out. Please get involved. We want to hear from you. So what do you think? Since we're talking about, all the different principles of trauma-informed care, what are your thoughts on it? Because it's for all of us. It's for all our learning. So please feel free. I'm waiting. I don't want to start picking names. It'll be nice. Please, let's just share our thoughts. Councillor Nam, do you please know who's online? Should we start naming people and just getting them involved? Any questions from our audience? Choice. We shouldn't wait till it's too late.
Very important.
I'm giving you the choice now.
Yeah.
And then when it hits rock bottom, then I'm going to start calling names. We don't want to get to that point.
Yeah.
Or Vincent, something.
I wanted to say something. I think on the point of choice, sometimes it's difficult for us to make those choices because I think you mentioned our culture or where we're coming from. It's not something that we used to. So we always want to be given or want to be told, but then it might not be what we want. So it's quite important that, and for those of us who are helping or supporting people going through, it's important to make sure that we don't make decisions for them. And I think you've mentioned it. We are very good at that. We make the decision and we tell them this is what we are doing. It's okay, but if we really want the person to be really involved in the care, then it's important that we draw them in. This is where we are now, and this is what we have heard, or this is what we've been told, or this is what's available. So, what do you think about it? I think it's very important. It's only with wisdom. We need to apply wisdom in dealing with things like this, and sometimes, and I'm stepping back into my area of as being a minister. Sometimes, we are like, this is the word of God. So then we don't give room for people to see where we are coming from or what we are offering them. And this is what we have to do. This is where the church will stand with you and all that. I think it's very important. Even if we want to make certain decision for them, we need to speak to them. We need to sit them down. We need to let them know where we are at with the journey. And I think if we do it this way, it will help. I think that it will be even more compelling to bring them along rather than just making the decisions. This is how it should be done. If it's not done, then we don't want to be involved or we don't want to, it's something that we really need to give people the choice and they feel empowered that, this is my decision. This is what I want to do. And that will help. Really
and help. Can I please actually ask something? I just want to throw it out there, Mummy. So, when it comes to people experiencing things, especially in our communities, because sometimes, often, with church or with even families, that I told you so kind of thing, that can, and then people, I think sometimes people tend to not want to talk about things because as well, you just kind of feel like you're being judged, that, say you think you didn't listen, it's that kind of thing. And then it kind of is like when families are telling you what to do, you should do this, this is what you need to do. And this is what, even with church as well, like often You'll be told, oh, yeah, you know, you shouldn't, the Bible says you shouldn't do this. But sometimes people don't even explain the reason why or the rationale behind it. I'm presuming a lot of the time there is a rationale behind everything. Like, you know, even as a parent, when you're telling your kid about the pluses and minuses of certain choices and decisions. But then I think we don't often. So how can we get around that then, Mummy? What advice can you give to like faith communities, especially? Because I think a lot of persecution tends to come from there, and people feel judged, and people feel, because I speak to quite a lot of people, and lately it's like they struggle to really be honest about things, and then you know, and it puts people off when they feel they're constantly being spoken at and being told to do things rather than feeling somebody is actually holding them through their journey. They lose that sense of their own self in their own journey. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that education is important. No, nobody is above. I don't even know how to put it, but we
But
all
the lack
need.
of knowledge might
Yeah,
be.
we perish. We all need to be educated, and so when we are presented with cases like this, we will know how to go about it. Sometimes it's not like people want to judge or make you feel a certain way, but it's simply because they don't know. If they don't know, they can't give you. And so I think we in those positions also need to educate ourselves like we're doing now. We are learning so that when you are approached with something, you know how to go about it rather than just, this is how you do. You don't go this way and all that. And like I say, give the rationale. And if we know it, then we are able to give it out to them. So I think it's something that we all need, that education. We need that information to work with because we are working with people. And as much as we have the word of God, we also need to know um, information like health information, and it's something that we do from in our branches, isn't it? That
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, we teach so that it's not just education. Our, our main facilitator, Lady Jasmine, and so it's just because people don't know. That's why we sometimes act in a certain way. So it's important that we learn. We learn so
Thank
that.
you very much, Mummy. Thank you. We've actually got a
So
question from Pastor Edward Sutherland. Daddy, daddy, oh, my own dad. He says, how does trauma link to mental health issue if not addressed? I love this question. I don't know if any of the, I'll give the counselors a chance for somebody to tackle it, and then I can also give mine. So, because I believe we all have different perspectives. So, it
Yeah.
would be useful for us to hear from everybody's perspective. So I don't know if Reverend Cindy, you want to go first, then Reverend Abankwa, then Councillor Irene, then I will also give my mental health expertise on that. So Mummy, you can start
Okay.
from
All right.
as a faith, yeah, as a faith leader and from what you know.
Yeah. I think as I said from the beginning, if things trauma is not addressed, it has a potential of raiding your mental health if it's not addressed. And we are very good. We are very good in covering and pushing it under the carpet. But if we address it, then we have the opportunity to deal with the issue before it gets out of hand. But if we don't, definitely our emotions and our mental being will be affected. I think it's something that we have learned from the beginning. And so when trauma shows up, the power we have is to address it. Why am I going through this? Why is this happening? Why am I not able to overcome this situation? When we are able to pick those things up, and if you don't have answers for it, then we go for whoever has the information or the help or the support for us. Sometimes we can deal with it, sometimes we can't. If you can't, it's okay to go to somebody, and I think we have said from the beginning as well, go to someone, and Lady Reverend Irene said it, go to a trusted person who understands what you are going through, who
Yeah.
has information about what you're going through, so that it can be addressed. But if we don't do it, it gradually eats into our mental health, our emotional health, sometimes even our physical health. It can affect us. And so if we really want to overcome those things, then we really need to, right from the start, right from the start, we need to tackle it. Otherwise, it will get to a point where it will be, we won't be able to address it. And like you said, we'll keep going in the cycle because it will come, we haven't addressed it, and then something happens, it triggers it, and then we keep going in that cycle. So right from the start, if we are able to address it, there won't be mental health issue. Even if it starts, you are able to curb it because you have support to work on that. So yeah, that's what I would say. Let's do it
Thank
right
you.
from the start so that we are able to overcome that.
Thank you very, very much, Reverend Cynthia. So, Reverend Abankwa, our lovely social care practitioner. Uncle, you can please tell us from your perspective in terms of your line of work. So, I'm sure I know you've definitely encountered trauma in so many ways, people who are traumatized.
Yeah.
So could you please make the link that how does trauma link to mental health issues if not addressed? Like I think Daddy wants to probably understand, from the perspectives, yeah.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Reverend Cynthia. We have talked about the different types of trauma.
Mhm.
And the different types of trauma, sometimes what brings about this mental health situation is the type of trauma that the individual has experienced and what we class as the shame that comes with it. Sometimes, because if we are talking about this accident, unfortunate accident in Ghana, that is a tragic event.
Yeah.
That for everybody is trauma, but it's a tragic event. It wasn't in any sort of particular individual's fault. We don't know yet what the issue was. But let's say, for example, somebody who has been sexually abused, that shame that comes with it, and the language we use, and sometimes the family and the community perception, and sometimes the respect and then the judgmental side of things. You see, so all of this comes together, and that in itself makes it very difficult, even if the individual is going through maybe therapy or healing process. That the stigma that comes with it. That is why I started earlier and I was saying that the type of trauma that the individual has gone through will rather trigger any form of mental health, because it's something, a trauma that will bring that shame, that stigma, that kind of everybody looking at you, okay, oh, this one there is it brings that kind of guilt to that individual, even though it may not be their fault, but because of what the nature of what has happened to them, it then plunges them into even deeper mental well-being state that they kind of struggle between accepting or going through the healing process and them becoming more affected by it, because that is where sometimes it then plunges them into more mental health difficulties because of the shame, the things that they themselves will be thinking. How do people perceive me when I go out and all that? And that is what sometimes then it leads to depression, because then they try and isolate themselves, and it's on, and things then get worse and worse for them. So it depends on the type of trauma that the individual suffered. That will then lead to more of a mental health situation.
Thank you very, very much, Reverend Abankwa. This is really, really on point. So we've heard the social care perspective as well. And then I'd like to go to Counselor Irene. Auntie, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. To continue from where
more questions. This is great.
To continue from where Pastor Abankwa left, Reverend Abankwa left, I had a case. So to answer the question, how does it does had a strong link with mental health. I had a client who lost one parent. Apparently, her life is centered around the parents. And so for her world is that parent that she lost. And she felt she was okay. So after the burial, she went back to work post, but then it started eating her up and started, she couldn't even concentrate at work. She couldn't do anything. So she reported to the hospital and they diagnosed that she has post-traumatic disorder. So she needs to seek therapy. And I happened to, but like Reverend Abankwa said, my engagement with her, she felt guilty for the death of the mother. Why? Because the mother was diagnosed and she was supposed to go through a surgery. And everybody apparently in the family was against the surgery. But she, working as a medical practitioner, she agreed with the doctor. She felt that was the best solution for her mom. And her mom went through the surgery, even though she came out, but in less than a short month, the mother passed on. So she was blaming herself, self-blame. She was blaming herself. So she felt that she killed the mother. And that alone affected her mental health. So if we go through trauma and we don't treat it, we don't address it, it can definitely affect our mental health. And the danger is that once it starts and we don't attend to it, it worsens. Yeah. But then if we are lucky, like we are all learning here, if we are lucky and we are able to seek help, we are able to come out quickly and heal from whatever we are going through. Yeah. And to add a little to what Reverend Cynthia said, I will encourage or admonish those of us in the faith ministry to the fact that we are reverend ministers or pastors does not make us professional counselors. That's where the danger comes from. Many of us assume that once I can read the Bible and understand or speak to God, I know it all. Yeah. And then we end up doing harm to our clients than doing them good. So like Reverend Cynthia said, even though we are ministers of God, we need to also learn, acquire the basic counseling skills. I mean, those basic ones to be able to help people when they are going through trauma. Because our knowledge in the word of God alone cannot help our people. So let us learn and get ourselves involved so that we can do it and do it well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to add but thank you so much, everyone. Yes, Mommy.
Yes, I just wanted to say as well, when we started, we were talking about trauma from childhood. So sometimes things happen when we were children and not knowing, any better. We've suppressed it up until now, and then it starts resurfacing. So that also can be because when it's showing up, you are trying to suppress it because over the years you suppressed it, and then eventually it will just spill over. So we need to be aware whatever you have been through in your childhood, during your childhood, and it's resurfacing now. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with it before it gets out of hand. We are even fortunate that we are seeing or feeling it now, and there is something that we can do about it. So I think when we suppress our emotions for a very long time, we want to maintain that, but it doesn't help. So that's where I'm coming from. That we need to, whenever we feel overwhelmed with what has happened in the past, we need to deal with it so that it doesn't take us to that place where our mental health is affected.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Reverend Cynthia. So to add to what everybody said, I think that how does trauma link to mental health? It's a combination of factors and over a period of time. So as I always keep going back to the biopsychosocial model, when you want to have an understanding of how something develops into an illness or a disorder, a challenge, it starts from somewhere. Trauma, as we learned from the different types of trauma, it can start from any of these settings. Trauma can be a natural, like a biological thing, or it can be stemming from a social circumstance. It can stem from, you know, like the emotional or the is it the psychological arena. But the one thing that we need to know is, as a human being, due to, by virtue of our physiological fabrication, our bodies and our brain and our mind and everything, it's a collective of things working together, chemicals, different things, organs, different tissues, different cells, everything. So not trying to get too clinical with it, but I think, and I'm kind of figuring maybe that's Daddy wanted to know that, like, how is it actually leading to mental? So it starts off when people experience trauma, the thing that can then escalate, that can then trip people mentally, because when we talk about mental, we're talking about your receptors, your dopamine. There's different types of receptors. We've got our the things that even antidepressant combats. We've got dopamine, we've got SSRI, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and all these things, because they're targeting specific things. Because depression, psychosis can also be symptomatic of people going through trauma, and these things are caused by these kind of physiological responses. It's like stress response, where your body is either producing certain chemicals or things. You know, things happen when people are stressed. All of a sudden things start going haywire. Your hormones, it can even impact on your hormone production, everything. It's like, it's just, I don't know, the body, God in his own infinite wisdom created the body, the human body, in such a special way that everything is just doing something, you know. But yeah, so it can start off, it's a combination of the factors. When people are stressed, the stress response, where the chemicals in the body are doing one thing, and then it manifests in presentation. So that's how people start to then exhibit signs of like depression or anxiety, because that's the response to the thing that they're feeling internally. Because when you're even shocked or stressed, you process it internally before it manifests outside. Before I can see somebody stressed, the initial thing would have happened internally, and then it is the manifestation of that thing when it's now been digested and processed and it's gone through. That's when we then get to see the outcome of it, or the results or the consequence of what has happened. So in terms of mental, that's why it's a multifaceted approach. You have to really be mindful of your biopsychosocial factors. So you can't just be looking at, to be able to mitigate or hopefully preserve your mental health, or to kind of try and be at a state of wellness. It's important you utilize all the resources. Once you've experienced something, that experience is the starting point. Then it has to be processed internally, and then it manifests externally. So then once you've now experienced it, right from that point, as Mommy was saying, you don't wait till the manifestation has happened before, because as soon as you've experienced something, you know, sometimes, most of the time, you know, oh, I've encountered this thing, I need help, you know. And yes, people around you can give you that help, but it's really, really important that as a person as well, even when you're a child, that's why as parents, we need to be having very open, transparent conversations with our children, nurturing good relationships with our family members, so that even from a young age, children understand the value of sharing a problem with the right person, because then it becomes a way of life. They grow up with that, and then they know there's no shame in it, and then there's nothing wrong with it. So then it becomes part of who they are. Yeah. So for me, I think in terms of linking it to the mental health, there's definitely a combination of factors that can lead to people developing mental health when trauma goes unresolved. So we're going to now move to our next question. And you know, so long, so soon, we're almost coming to the end, and it's just when it's getting exciting. But unless obviously there's anything that anyone else and the counselors would like to add before we move to the next question. Yeah, Reverend Avankwa, are you okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can.
Councillor Irene, you okay for us to move on? And the audience as well, we hope that from all the different perspectives, it's made sense. And maybe we should ask, you know, Daddy Edward Sutherland to kind of indicate in there, since he asked the question, does he feel his question has been answered? satisfactorily, or is there any more facets to it that he might want us to explore before we move on to the next question? Okay, we can always just move on, and I'm sure if he does, he'll pop it in the communication box. So the next question is from Mr. Kojo Abaka Phillips, and his question is, what if the person is not accepting his or her situation as it stands? That's very interesting. I think, I think, Auntie Irene, you're probably going to start. So we'll throw it to you first. So, please.
Aklabaka, that's a very tough one, because if someone is sick, you can see that the person is sick, but he says he's not sick. There's nothing you can do. Way to get into the person. And the person is not accepting his situation because he's in the denial stage. He still can't believe that thing is happening to her, so she's not accepting it. And so for you to be able to help such a person, you have to exercise patience. You have to have a very big heart to go along with the person, apply the needed skills, so the person come to acceptance of this. Because until the person accepts, you can't do much. You can't do much. So it calls for helping the person to come to acceptance, and it's going to sometimes take some time. It takes some time for the person to accept. And I always come back to faith-based individuals. I work with persons with disabilities, and most of the time, they feel that once I'm a Christian, if I accept that I've gone blind, I cannot be healed. So they will not. And they will go searching for cure. By the time they realize that, that is the situation, and for them to accept it and do the best, a lot of time has passed. And so, by that, we still don't leave them. You have to work with the person. And then if you believe in God, you pray along that God will open the person's eye to see what is happening to the person. And then apply the professional skills to. Here, you don't force things on the person. You work along with the individual for him or her to come to the realization that this is it. I need to accept it and make the best out of it. But until you get to that point, you can't do much. Because of our time, I would have shared a very beautiful example of one of our students who went blind. He came to me at the office, and I gave him instances of students who have suffered the same fate, and by the grace of God, some are in the law school, some are here and there. And then the question she answered, so don't you believe that God can heal me? And I said, I believe God can heal you. I believe in God. But I want us to do both. Let's do the prayers, and let's do practically what we can do by you going to learn how to use the software so that you can use the computer for your exams and continue with your education. So that you don't, so along the line, if God heals you, you don't lose anything. And if the healing does not come, you still have your education and you can still move on. Do you know what? He left, even though I prayed with him, I invited him to the church because I realized his faith was in him. So I took him, we went to the prayer where we were praying alongside. For a very long time, I couldn't hear from this guy. I called, I don't get him. And for 8 years, I got hold of him. I didn't leave. I was still checking. So one day, I just sat and said, let me try and see if I can get. I got this guy after 8 years, and he was like, Auntie Irene, my parents gave me false hope. I said, where are you? I am in the house, neglected, totally blind, my education. And I was like, wow. But are you ready to pick up the pieces? He said, yes. I said, then the next morning, get yourself ready. Come to campus. I will take you to the assistive technology lab. They assist you to use the computer, the software to be able to practice how to use the computer. When you finish, I encourage him to defer the course when the issue happened. So we can go back get you started, and then and so now he's on the training. 8 years. And he has finished the
something else. Yeah.
School, and he has finished his master's and whatever by the first degree. So he's now going through the process. And so it is a bit difficult, but with counseling and guidance and things, we'll be able to get them there. Yeah. That's what I can say for this question.
Wow.
Thank you very, very much. That's a very powerful example, actually. Yeah, because I think sometimes it's like people don't really like to accept the situation as well, though, isn't it? Because and then so unfortunately, if you have people around you who are not also on that level of thinking or of a like mind to say, look, we can really put the positive spin on this, and it goes back to when we're looking at the choice, because already they're just looking for the validation. So the moment somebody is giving them the other easier option out, because to sit and wait for God to heal you is easy, isn't it? Because then you don't have to do anything. You're not actually pushing yourself. And as human as we are, our natural default setting would be to do the least, basically, the least thing that you can do to enjoy the maximum. That's what, and especially for ethnic minorities, we tend to have that sort of, but yeah, that I really hope that he gets to move on well. I know hopefully with your support, he will do really well. But okay, so before we move on, Uncle, I know you might probably have something to say. Somebody put another question, so I don't know whether we should read, and then whilst you're giving your answer, you can probably fuse all these things. And then especially Uncle being the social care thing, it says, what powers, it's from Nanama, it says Amanyako. So it says, what powers exist in law to deal with people with mental health issues? Hey, this one there. Uncle, it's me and you. Me and you. This one, me and
you. No, thank you. Thank you, Irene. I think the issue here about the individual not accepting their situation, you see, that makes things difficult, because first of all, you have to accept that you have gone through a kind of trauma, and you have to be open to accept help. But sometimes the unfortunate thing is in the body of Christ, when sometimes we feel that when we accept that we have gone through this unfortunate situation, it then does not kind of show that we have faith, or it doesn't really. I'm sort of struggling to put it in a better way, because it makes people feel that they are faithless, but I don't know whether it makes them feel that, okay, I can't accept that. It's not denial. You cannot deny. You cannot deny be in denial for what has happened. That is where I stated earlier, whether the individual is feeling that they would rather be judged, or they would rather feel that, okay, self-blame. Without accepting that you have gone through this situation, receiving support is very difficult. It really has to start with the individual as the first point of the recovery or the healing process. Without that, it makes it very difficult, because people will be giving you the interpretation of what you have gone through, but you yourself, you have to accept that I have gone through this situation and have to be open to receive help. When it comes to this second question, powers that exist in law, in dealing with children and family, if let's say a parent has gone through a traumatic situation that may be impacting on their parenting capacity, of course, we have to look at what is their mental capacity. How has the trauma incapacitated them in taking care of their family? And therefore, that is where we liaise and work along with our mental health colleagues to see that whether there is a need for a mental capacity assessment to be undertaken to determine whether they are in the right frame of mind to be able to take care of their families, their children. So in that case, we do involve our mental health colleagues to help us out. And if that is the case, then of course, we have to do what we have to do to ensure that the children are safeguarded, because if a mother is in a state where, or a father, let me put it right, a mother or a father, they are not in a state where, and that's most of the time, if they have support from their family network, we may look at the situation differently, because we can have a family network meeting where we can harness support from within the family to try and mitigate the parent who may be struggling. So we look at that. But if it is unfortunately one parent, and that parent is the sole parent who is taking care of the children, maybe one or two children, then of course that makes it very difficult. Then we have to look and see if we can't get anybody from within their support network, then the local authority will have to make a determination to safeguard the children by looking at the public law, or the going through the legal side of things to safeguard the children. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Reverend Abankwa. That was a very, very, I like the way you linked actually capacity and stuff. So when it comes to, Miss Nyagi, you can clearly tell the person who wrote that question is a lawyer. Amma, would you like to come on? Would you like to please come on and answer this one, please? Because I can see you put in there that you'd like to answer something. So maybe we should give her the chance. Madam Amma, so in terms of, definitely powers do exist in law to deal with people with mental health issues. And I am, being a mental practitioner, I think this is a very lovely question for me. So the majority of the law, or the powers that exist in law to help deal with people with mental health issues, stems from the Mental Health Act 1983, revised 2007. I better not get it wrong here. The Mental Health Act. And then stemming from the Mental Health Act, within the Mental Health Act is obviously the different things like the capacity assessments. We have so many different things, sectioning of people. The Mental Capacity Act is also a law within itself. We've got the Social Care Act. We've got so many different legal, I think in law, the different law things, judicial stuff that actually protects. It's there to protect and to safeguard people who do experience mental health issues, because otherwise, if these things were not in place, then people would just deal with people anyhow, and it would not be safe for the people who are experiencing issues, or even it's also to protect the public and the safety of everybody else. So I think that will be a whole topic for discussion for a whole other time. Mental health, the legalities or the laws in social care as well, I think, and that would probably be a very interesting kind of discussion as well, because I think there's a lot in there that people don't know, that are not aware of, especially from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds, and maybe that's why we struggle to engage services or to be able to seek timely support and help. So that might be something to move forward with in the future, as the time is actually really coming very close to the end. It's a shame because today is our last time on our today is, oh, 1 second please, I have to forward something. Emma's going to come on to talk to us. 2 seconds please, I have to forward something. Oh, okay, she's posted. Well, just, yeah, so whilst before Emma joins us in this,
Gonna.
We've had some technical
Yeah,
issues.
I think the signature back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, back.
Yeah. So I don't know where Emma went, but I think I've even said to her she can actually just join to speak, no video.
Mm.
But we'll just wait and see if she's able to. If she's not able to join this time, I know for a fact next time, hopefully, even if we're doing something else, it'll be nice because yeah, she said she'll join us next time to actually join in. But then yeah, so but thank you, Amma, for actually asking that question. It's going to be a whole topic on its own, you know, the law, like powers lying within the law that helps to deal with people's mental health issues. So Councillor Nab, this might actually be a nice leading, suggestive, you know, topical area for another discussion. But we'll just like to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you. We hope, Mr. Abaka, we answered the question satisfactorily for you, and we hope for Amanyako as well. At least you're happy with what we've said so far and, you know, the forward moving plan. Would like to say a very big thank you to all the viewers. We've come to, you know, too soon, all too soon, as we normally say at my church. We always say all too soon. It's come to a very sad, you know, end. But yes, it's not the end at all. It's just the beginning of greater discussions again. And we'd like to keep everybody bringing their suggestions in through to Councillor Nab about different things you want to hear about, different discussions you'd like to have, and just to help to kind of grow and develop, to bring what you need. For the lack of knowledge, my people perish. So I'd like to probably give all the councillors a quick few seconds to say our last words to the audience. Reverend Cynthia, we'll start with you, please.
Okay. I would like to say thank you very much, Lady Jasmine. I would like to say that you are not ashamed. You are not an embarrassment. What you've gone through, it wasn't your fault, even if it's your fault, what? But there is always a solution out there for you, and let's push and get the help that is out there for us so that we can enjoy life. So that's what I will give to everybody.
Thank you very much, Reverend Cynthia. Reverend Abankwa, I would like you to please give us a few words for the audience.
Thank you, Sister Jasmine. I think what I would say is we've come a long way. It has been a journey. We have talked about so many different things and you know, suggested different ways to deal with this. But what I want to say is, please, whatever situation you may have gone through, don't stay silent. Don't isolate yourself. You know, without you speaking, communicating to the right people, you won't get the right support. So please speak out, seek the right support from the right sources, and don't feel like Reverend Cynthia said, don't feel ashamed, don't be guilty, don't feel that, don't blame yourself. In life, we all go through situations. Sometimes it's not pleasant, but it may not be the end of our lives, because God still has a wonderful purpose for every one of us. And this is the life's journey. Sometimes you face challenges, but you just pick up yourself, ask for God's help, and then you pursue, you follow on. So don't stay in your world and let the good plans that God has for you just lay idle. Follow, pick yourselves up, seek help, and pursue your dreams, and I believe God will help you to achieve it. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Reverend Abankwa. So now our lovely Councillor Irene would like to hear from you for the audience before we say farewell.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. What I will say is that trauma is not a prison for some special people. Anybody, anything can happen to you and you can go into a traumatic situation. So if you are out there going through whatever you are going through, if you have gone through and you are trying to heal, never feel bad about it. Like we have said this evening, be empowered by all that you are learning from us and from elsewhere and seek for help. There are lots of people out there who are ready to assist. And I'm talking about professionals, people you can trust. They can keep your confidentiality is key to them. They are ready to assist you and give you a helping hand. If you are a faith-based person, also lean on the God that you serve. He's also ever ready to support you. Don't throw your hands in the air and feel that your world has come to an end. No, that is just the beginning of a beautiful life ahead of you. Nobody knows. Sometimes people come out of trauma and God opens greater avenues for them. So please don't feel that your world has come to an end. There's life at the end of the tunnel. There's hope for you. And seek help, because that is where you can help yourself and gain your confidence and move on with life. So we want to tell you that we are also always available. You can always reach out to us if you still want to talk one-on-one. You can get our number, our contact form, Counselor Nab, and we can engage and help you go through whatever journey you are going through as far as trauma is concerned. Thank you so much for your attention. Okay.
Thank you very much, our wonderful counselors, our wonderful reverend ministers. Hey, it looks like I'm the only one who's not a reverend here. Father, Lord, one day, in Jesus' name, let it rub off on me. Let it rub off on me. I want to be guilty by association in this instance, yeah. So my last few words, I just want to say a very big thank you to everybody that's joined in. We do not take your time for granted. We really appreciate you. But I think the thing that's striking out to me, my last few words, is reach out to speak out so you can live out your best life. So I'm really here, as Councillor Irene has said, we're all contactable. You can definitely ask Councillor Nab. I'm actually very happy to signpost people, to navigate pathways, and I know Reverend Abanka will probably be happy to do the same. Although sometimes practitioners are quite busy, but we're very happy. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be of help to anyone. So please definitely don't suffer in silence. And I hope that we get to meet again. So on that note, I hope you all have a very blessed and fruitful week ahead. And I just look forward to, great testimonies, hopefully following the information we've shared. And yes, on that note, on behalf of Councillor Nab, and once again, congratulations, Councillor Nab. Congrats. Very soon we'll see the new bundle of joy. She'll package them for us and we can say hello. Our guest of honor. So we hope that you all have a lovely week ahead. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.